Welcome to the Team Builder Show, where the most successful team leaders share how to build, scale, organize, and ultimately maximize your sales team results. Have you ever thought, what would it be like to get into the mind of someone that does 3,000 real estate transactions a year, $1 billion in volume, managing a huge team across an entire state? Have you ever imagined that? Like that could be you? Well, today, that's my guest on the podcast. George, what's up, man?
What's up, buddy? Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, man. Thank you. So George, for the people that don't know who you are, we're going to get into the backstory and the dynamics. And you know what George is magnificent at is solving problems. Like if there was a superpower.
Yeah, I think so. Like, you know, inevitably in business, we face so many different challenges, so many different problems, but like breaking it down, you know, you get in those meetings, you've been in them, like, okay, guys, what problem are we really trying to solve here, right? Let's not just get caught in the minutia of the day, get caught in like this groupthink. Let's make sure we're solving the problem that we have.
And who are we solving it for? Are we trying to solve it for us,
for the
consumer,
for our team members? Like, what is this? Let's stay focused on it.
Yeah.
But then also, how does it have impact in other parts of the business, right? Like, well, who might this affect? Too, right?
So it's so interesting about just the way you just opened that. Like, I was conditioned early on by all my mentors of your income is in direct correlation to the problems that you can solve and the value that you deliver to the marketplace.
So true.
Right? And if you look at Peter Diamandis, who I get to spend time with, he's like, hey, the bigger the problem, the more money you want to make $1 billion a year, solve $1 billion problem.
Agreed. Right? And that was some of my disconnect sometimes in this industry is you go to those big conventions, nobody's talking about the consumer's problems, right? Like, what is the biggest challenge the consumer faces? And those are the things we try to answer on our team, or also always circle back to that, right? Like, hey, we're doing this, but does it ease up the consumer's pain points? What are we doing to help with that too?
Okay, so I think we need to unpack your past for people to understand. I mean, you know, we're just coming out of a mastermind group of all these legendary people. We're talking about high level leadership stuff. The listener right now might be saying to themselves like, okay, this could be overwhelming. Like I'm selling 39 homes a year and I'm the number one agent in my office. This guy's doing 3,000. He's not going on that many appointments. He has scaled himself and his wisdom and his insight. Is that fair?
Fair, yeah.
But take us back to the very beginning. 16 years ago, you and Jennifer.
So,
were you guys in Phoenix? Were you in
we
Scottsdale?
Were in Phoenix. So Jen and I, both bartenders, students at the time.
Yeah.
You know, people were coming
in. What is it about bartenders and real estate agents? Like,
I think it translates really well. So
I agree.
My top 4 salespeople were all ex-bartenders.
Is that where you recruit now?
That's where I go. Like, if I'm going to the bar, I just tell Jen, hey, I'm going recruiting.
I'm not really going to have drinks. I need some more salespeople.
Yes. And rockstar. I mean, they know how to connect with people, right? They know how to problem solve.
One.
And they're quick on their feet. And they're multitasking. Yeah. I'm like, I love it for recruiting options. So.
Lindsay Delasella said the same thing about people that work in restaurants, like servers.
Same thing. Yeah.
Same exact thing.
I understand it.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. So 16 years ago, you and Jen go into real estate. Yep. It's 2006.
2006.
Your timing was fantastic.
It looked good. Like, it was sexy, right? At that time. It was kind of a little bit of dumb luck. I was flying to Remax for this quarterly meeting, and I just got my license. I was like, it's like the launch off of the new agents.
Yes.
And the gal sitting next to me was talking about foreclosure properties, and I go, you know, I've been seeing more pop up in my neighborhood. Like, I'm interested. Like, I love segments of industries.
Right.
I don't necessarily enjoy the retail space a ton. And I was like, okay, well, this segment, I love a segment of the industry. And so she was talking about how they'd signed up for something and I'm like, well, there's always a convention. There's always something to go to. So 2006, Jen and I together, we did like 13 deals. Right? Yeah. 2007, we ended up going to Rio Mac with my partner then, Scott Gibson. Yeah. I think we landed Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae at Rio Mac.
Okay, did you have any idea how big that was?
No idea what I'm doing.
The biggest
Zero idea, right?
How did you guys get
fake it? I don't know. Well,
they saw your wife. They were like,
she knows what she's doing. She knows what she's doing.
She's smart. Okay.
So we ended up landing a couple big accounts there. At that time, we probably had 5 listings. Yeah. By fourth quarter of 2007, we have 150 listings, right? Yeah. Peak point, 2009, we were at probably 600 assets being held from 14 different institutions. That was a very operational team. We had a team of 25 very operational, transaction management oriented.
Yep. Clean up, organize, manage the construction, pay for everything.
High margin, right? It's a great, for an operator, it's a great role, right? And so 2012, like we knew it was going to shut off like a faucet one day.
Sure.
And so we've got to pivot to retail, right? And how are we going to do that? Basically dissolved the team that we had for REO, started our retail brand in 2012, and then grew this more traditional real estate model, team model. It was just me, my wife, and an assistant at that time, one agent. And now we're to 150 agents.
Okay, but there's let's unpack. And then 2 to 10, 150 agents. So one of the things I've always respected the most about you is you truly are a great operator. And a lot of people talk about operational excellence, and you see some CEOs of large real estate companies that can operate these businesses. And that is his super, like solving problems and then integrating it into the business and organizing the steps and making sure that everybody's empowered to go do it. I'm obviously very excited about this. So here's the thing. You went from 2 to 10, but then you got introduced, was it 2017? What put me pre-meeting the Zillow group?
So pre-meeting Zillow, I was at 10 agents.
Yeah. And where was the business coming from and how were they doing?
Lead generation, right? So Zillow ad spend, AdWords, Facebook.
All the traditional
stuff, right? Running through our Boomtown CRM, right? Mm-hmm. Inside sales, 1 or 2 inside sales members.
That was early for ISAs.
Yeah. I've been following you for a long time, right? So, and then come 2017? I remember, so I'm talking to my Zillow sales rep, and they just announced, I think it was Inman, New York that year, they announced that they were getting into the buying business. And I saw that, you look at Opendoor, OfferPads models, you see there's a really great top of funnel seller lead generation, right? And I was like, you can't buy them all. I just want what you don't buy to have the opportunity to list, right? And so scheduled a meeting, had a few conversations, and then the Zillow team came out and I got to meet them a little bit. So founders, Lloyd Frink, Stan Humphreys. It was a really great meeting. So this is 2017. And they go, we're going to send you some more leads. I go, okay. All right. So I probably need more agents. And so I went from 10 agents to 50 agents 2017. So 2017, 2018, and now to where we're at today.
Okay. So let's just stop for a second there. Yeah. Are you that good or are you just that lucky?
Lucky, I think. No, so it's identifying an opportunity, right?
And then problem solver.
And then going all in on it, right? So prioritizing, I think, is super key, and that's what. There's always more great ideas than there's the capacity to execute. It sits on my wall.
Say that again.
There's always more great ideas than there is the capacity to execute. So staying really focused on what your priorities are, but also knowing when you see an opportunity, what it takes to seize that opportunity, right? And so sometimes these big opportunities come along that you have to push pause on some other things and be like, I can't tackle all of this. Here are my focuses for this quarter that I'm going to stay very committed to, but I'll be damned if something big comes along, I'm going to pivot for a minute and decide if that's worth it. We're going to fire some bullets, right? That's why I say, like, hey guys, we're always firing a bunch of bullets. And then once one of those really hits and we think it works, we're going to fire the cannonballs, right?
Right, exactly. So let's back up. So you get Fannie and Freddie. Because clearly there was something that you guys said to those managers. They said, okay, all right, we need somebody in Phoenix. Here's 300 listings. So, because that's how it worked back then. It was nuts.
You're talking disposition, right? And somewhat property management. Mm-hmm. If you can talk, just like these, the funds coming in and buying in the Phoenix market and stuff, like if you can speak their language, understand their language, you've got a good chance of capturing the accounts, right? If I can talk dispo, if I can talk, at that time it was like understanding, I got to learn the jargon here, right? Cash for keys, proactive asset recovery, right? Like these things that you're like, all you got to do is flip through DS News.
There was nothing in the real estate licensing test that gave you that.
Yeah, exactly, right? So I'm trying to learn more about that specific segment of the industry and then talk intelligently.
Were you doing that recon with Jen before you got there?
Yeah. So at the time I had a partner, Scott Gibson, and he's like a savant in that kind of stuff too. And just talking through what we need to know and how to speak that language. He was really good at that. So like there's always a convention, there's always a magazine or newsletter or something, and like DS News, and
do your homework.
Do your homework.
Right.
Exactly. Right. Know what you need to say.
So let's go back to the meeting in 17, right? So you're there. I mean, you got Lloyd, who's the co-founder, right? And clearly, because of the REO background, like you're able to say, I was managing X. Exactly, I know what I'm doing.
So what I think, so understanding the jargon in REO days was really what captured that. Plus Scott's resume for property management was the other thing that really kind of solidified it for us. Now the REO resume solidifies the Zillow relationship, right? The Zillow relationship solidifies another relationship, right? And it just keeps building. Not to be
named, because there's some hot new relationships.
Yes, exactly.
We'd be like, beep.
Yeah, exactly.
But go back to, I can just imagine, because I mean, I've been there as an entrepreneur. Like you're sitting in the meeting and they're like, we would like to do this. And you're like, I can do that. In your mind, you're like, I have to go hire this many people, organize, and like,
and you're not really even sure what the structure looks like yet, right? So we got to sit down and brainstorm and like figure all this stuff out.
So what was the meeting after the meeting?
So let me, I'll tell you about the meeting. So it's a Tuesday, I think. And, a good friend of yours, Austin Allison, calls me. He's like, hey, we're going to be in town Friday. We'd love for you to sit down and just kind of tell us about the nuances of the Phoenix market. Like help us understand the transaction a little bit better. I go, great. I'd love to help you. Come on in. And who's going to be there? Oh, by the way, it's going to be Lloyd Frank, founder. Stan Humphries. Exactly. I'm like, okay. And what do I need? Do you want a deck? What do you need prepared? Like, no, just be prepared. And I'm like, shit, now I got to prepare for everything.
And Lloyd's brain's like a supercomputer, right? So he's going to ask 8 billion questions, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so we sit down, and the first thing, we just start talking about the real estate transaction. We start talking about the Phoenix market. We sit there for a good, 4.5 hours just going through different nuances of the transactions and how we can scale, and
you were basically Tank in the Matrix, and they plugged into you and they're like, tell us everything about Phoenix. They just, Did you feel in that moment that they could have said thank you and gone someplace else? Or did you feel a connection that like, hey, this relationship's going to work?
I felt the connection.
Or would it even matter?
Yeah, I think so. For me, it's always been a good partnership for us, right?
But I mean, OfferPad was already in the market. Open Door was already in the market. They really were the third to jump in. Mm-hmm. And I remember when that was happening because, watching just the movement of their business. But like did you guys sign NDAs?
Oh yeah.
Okay. All right. And we could talk about stuff.
Yeah. Now that's
maybe I should have asked that first in the podcast.
No, I've done other interviews.
Legal. Yes.
I've given this story in other interviews with Zillow.
Okay. All right. So, but go back to, you're sitting there and an opportunity hits and you're like, okay, we need to add potentially 40 new salespeople in short order. So let's talk about that. That's model match agent, right? Recruiting initiatives. Do I need a recruiter? Who's going to onboard them? Do I have enough software to manage this? What are the leads going to be like? What do we need to say to actually convert them? How am I going to do the commission splits? Do I have space? Who's going to pay?
I mean, stressing me out. I forgot about
right. Stuff, I mean, but for the person listening, that's what we just had a company call us and say, we would like to turn over X number of agents. And I'm like, that sounds great. Except in my mind, I'm like, I need to now go hire all these people. I'm like, I can do that for you in like 4 months. And they're like, 4 months? I'm like, because
here's what we got to do.
Quality control, right? Like I have to do it the right way. Walk us through that process.
For us, it always starts with, who do we think we need, right? And what do those job descriptions look like? What's capacity per person? So my mind always goes towards an org chart and workflow, right? Like, okay, what is the org chart for this? And there's very traditional. I mean, you can go. We're not reinventing the wheel.
All this is Googleable,
exactly, right?
Like, I want to make that point clear.
These are sales industries, right? This is how business is done. So we're going to model it that way. And so, okay, I do need a recruiter. But I can't hire a recruiter yet. So this person, 70% of their job now becomes recruiting, right? If you're my sales team leader, sales coach, like I need you to focus more fully on recruiting. And somebody has to carry over and handle the coaching and the day-to-day KPI stuff.
Right.
And so it's just figuring that out, like, who do we need? Okay, who can cover down in the interim? And then what's the key hire within this too, right? Okay, this is the most important hire that's going to unlock the next level for us, right?
Yep.
Then this is the next one, and then this is the next one, right? And so sometimes that's filling just with the inside sales portion of it, right? And then the manager comes after. But sometimes you need the manager first. It just depends, right? But
I need tactical support. We'll put a leader on that later.
The interesting thing about good managers is you can't hire a good manager and ask them to build too, usually, right? Yeah. But you can build and then hire a good manager.
Right.
So
or build with them.
Build with them, right?
I built plenty and then put somebody in charge.
Exactly.
And then you put somebody in charge and you're like, when are they going to do something?
Yeah.
Not all of them. For like my team might be listening like, hey, is he talking about me right now? Yes, I'm talking about you. So you take on that relationship, but you have all these existing, you already have business going.
Yep.
So it would be fun, like for the person listening right now or watching, imagine if you're doing 15 or I think about like one of our clients, Carolyn Young is a good example. Yep. So she's a Remax agent out in Maryland. She goes to a Tom Ferry event. She sees Tom Toole, who you met over the last couple of days. And she's like, she went to the conference saying, I am a 20-year veteran. I make $400,000 to $500,000 every single year just working my past clients in Sphere. And she was pissed. She's like, I'm so sick and tired of watching these people leapfrog me. I'm going to this conference to find one thing I can do that could double my business at no cost. Yep. Now, think of the logic of asking that question. Tom Toole's up there and he's like, expired listings. This is what I do. This is how I do it. And he's like, I do all these other things, but like specifically that. Yeah. She goes back and operationalizes just that one thing, goes from 450 to $1.2 million to like 2.8 to last year, $4 million.
I love it.
Right? Yep. And she's like, this is bonkers. But we know there's a scaling process. So the person listening right now, maybe they're at 25 or 30 transactions, maybe they're at 25 or 30 transactions a month. If all of a sudden you take on a new opportunity, walk us through that process again. You said job description, workflow, but go more detailed. Like give us an example of it. Hey, ready? Yeah. Tom Ferry's gonna buy 80 homes a month from you in the Phoenix metro. And I know your business. You're already at capacity. You have no one that can take that on.
Yep.
You're not going to say no.
No. So I'm saying yes.
Right.
So for instance, if we're going and looking from like an acquisition model, we need to purchase 80 homes a month, right? The first thing I'm thinking is like, what is the model, right? Like what do we have to do? And then what's the job descriptions look like? Once again, the org chart, but I'm really getting down to like, I got to understand people's capacity, right? Like if we're for an acquisitions team, how many offers can you write in a day? I've got to understand your KPIs. I've got to understand what the avatar is for that person, right? Like what's going to keep them driving. Comp plans too. Like I'm going to go in and we're going to start just reverse engineering everything we can. Right. If this is the end goal here, let's say end goal is 1,000 transactions next year, right? Yep. From this one source, call it Flex or call it something,
whatever,
right? Okay, let's reverse engineer it into say, okay, how many do we need in? How many leads do I need in?
Yep.
How many inside salespeople do I need? Right. How many do I think they can handle? How many product leaders do I need? Right. How many agents is it going to take to facilitate all of that?
Right.
How many TCs do I need? And then I go, okay, but I don't need those all today.
No.
I need them by when?
Yes.
Okay, we need to hire this many agents or onboard this many agents to the Flex program, right?
Do you ever do like a visual of like, okay, so my future state is we added, and he's saying 1,000 transactions, like the person watching or listening right now might say adding 10. Yeah. But it's the same, right? It's just at his level, 1,000's 1,000, 10 is 10, right? It's just, you're adding, right? You're at capacity. How do I scale more? Do you ever do like a future state and say, here, I'm at 1,000 and what it looks like? And then what does it have to look like in January and then February and then March?
We break everything
do you break it that way?
In quarterly, right? Yeah. And so whenever we have an idea or we have a new subset of business, an ancillary, anything along those lines, it first goes into a shared Miro board. So I don't know if you operate anything out of Miro, but it really is.
What is Miro? Is that something?
Miro's like, it's just where you can share mapping of different things.
Oh, right? It's like the mind map?
Mind mapping kind of stuff.
So it's like mindmapping.com. And so it's just another one of those guys.
So
those are killer, by the way, because it's a visual.
It's a visual.
Here's everything
and I can
we
throw out any idea, anything that I'm concerned about, anything that I think is the most important.
Yep.
And then we segment it out, and my operations people are in there. Billy Hobbs, my director of ops, Justin McClellan. Like these guys, like they're Rain Man, right? Like they'll get in there and they go, okay, well, what else do we need to do? And then I'm sitting there like,
they're Rain Man.
Yeah, they are. They get in. I'm like, it's like, yeah, but
I
George,
can definitely
did you
drive.
think of
I'm a
this?
good driver.
Yeah,
That's where I think when you say
right,
that.
Yeah, I know. They're like, okay, well, George, what about this?
Is what you're
savants,
saying.
yes,
Yeah.
right. And we all get in there and we just start plotting out ideas, right? Like, okay, what else do we need here?
Yeah. If this happens, what do we do?
Yeah,
and if that happens,
what's going to be our biggest hurdle?
Yeah.
And that's first step. Like that's super helpful for us to just kind of get stuff dumped out before we do anything else.
So you do sort of that visual mind map of every possible good, bad, worst case scenario, it sounds like.
Correct.
Do you think every agent should do that before they even start a new initiative?
Anything.
Like, how would start a geographic farm?
Yeah,
like
you're changing CRMs, right? Like this is a problem, right? Like I didn't think about all these people. Now I've got to get them to opt into the new database, right? The new platform, right? And
you mean I can't just dump them in
and then they're automatically, like those things, those are questions I would put in this Miro board.
Right.
And then we're all working together. We're like, okay, well, what are some solutions here, right?
Yeah.
And then we'll sit down and we kind of go through that. But yeah, definitely just mentally dump.
Yeah.
Whenever you have an idea, you have a new segment of your business, you have a problem, put it there and collaboratively work together on it.
You know what I love about that? So shout out to John Wesley on my team. So John is like the unofficial Wikipedia of our business, right? Like he's been with me for 12 years. He has never deleted an email in his life, right? You know what I mean? So literally I could say, hey, what did I do on stage at the 2009 summit? He's like, the theme was, and Gary Vaynerchuk was there, and right, he'll like tell the whole story, and I'm like, yes. But what I like about what I'm hearing, it's different from maybe today we use Asana or Monday or Trello or any project management tool to have all that stuff archived.
Yes. So but the mind mapping, starting with Miro or something, and then put it into Monday. Once you create your actionable items,
for sure.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, just the archiving aspect of it is because then it's like, hey, have we done that before?
We have. Exactly. Right?
Hold on, we got a mind map for that, right? Like that's, hey, we went from this CRM to that CRM 7 years later, and now we're doing another change. Did we already do a project like this before? Yeah. What worked? What didn't work? Let's look at it again.
You talk about building, the flex conversion model, right? Zillow conversion model. You go, okay, all that started out in a Miro board,
right?
All of that now is a very, systematized process, that we can go back to and say, okay, well, if not this, then this.
Yeah,
it looks exactly the same.
Can I ask a random question?
Of course.
There's got to be some mad respect. And there's also got to be some like death threats because of how much business you do in your marketplace. And death threats is strong, but you know what I mean? Like they're like, screw that guy. He got the REO account, then he got the Zillow offer account. That went away, right? Yeah. Then he got Flex, and you do all this other stuff, and you have all these other channel partners and all this but you're so chill. Like
I don't get a ton of death threats.
Okay.
No, do you get some? I'll tell you though, like Phoenix, is competitive.
For the person listening, like let's be clear.
No,
I'm sure
there's people out there that don't like me, but
right. But I mean, like Tom, the rumor about, I cannot say the woman's name. Like she literally said, the rumor about me is I sleep with all my sellers. I'm like, and I said it in front of her husband. He's like, well, that explains it. Right? I'm like, oh, you're not getting any, but she's like 65-year-old, like Mother Teresa, right? But agents create rumors around people that are wildly successful.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that?
Honestly, like I eliminate the noise. If it's out there, I don't know.
Yeah.
I've always tried to be really good and understand like the holistic aspect to our business. Like, I believe in karma. I believe in all that. Like, hey, I'm going to treat everybody great.
Yeah.
Even on an exit from our company.
Right.
Treat the consumers really well. And honestly, that all comes back. And as competitive of market as Phoenix is,
it is.
And some of the top teams in the country, I get along with all of them. Right.
That's
like
key.
there isn't many that.
That's key.
Say,
I mean, I've seen it because we spent time together. We're like, other mega teams, and you guys are like, "What's up, brother?" And I'm like, I respect that.
Yeah.
Right. Because I think we both come from a mindset of like, there is enough for everybody. Right.
Enough.
But like,
I want my unfair share.
Of course.
But there's enough for them to have some too.
So we're talking through like the mind map side. So if you identify all the potential problems and challenges, and on that timeline of future state, here's what it looks like. We're adding 10 or 1,000 transactions. First, it's a mind map. Mm-hmm. Then what's next?
Project management, right? So, and then ownership of each one of those items. So this is when we would say, okay, we've got it to a point where we know the challenges that may come. We kind of have a good idea of where we need to go.
Yep.
And now let's operationalize it.
Right.
You can go 1-3-5. You could do, we just put it now in project management and Monday board, assign timelines, and assign owners,
Yeah.
right? So if the key is for this, for this account, we knew we were going to have more agents. Well, we got to recruit more agents. Well, there's got to be ads put up, right? So we need ad creation and
top of funnel, middle of funnel,
right?
bottom of the
and
funnel.
So here, who's doing this and by when, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the way we set it up. And Monday's been an amazing platform to be able to do that on.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Monday, Asana,
any one of
Trello.
them,
They're
Trello,
Today's show is brought to you by
Sorry.
Monday.com. No,
Yeah,
I don't. I mean, I don't care. But it's funny. Like, we're sitting inside these masterminds, and it's like one person's using this, and five more people say, "Yeah, that's what I use." Then someone else goes, "No, I like this one because it's like, do you like Mercedes or BMW?"
It's apples to apples.
Yeah. As long as you're using project management, we're happy. Google Docs, we don't care.
Yeah.
So one of the questions I know that people are going to be asking is, if you go to today's state, right, and you're at 3,000 transactions, $1 billion in sales volume, which is just bonkers, right? Like, so for the person listening, I'm going to give you a little rundown. I was sharing this with George earlier. So from all that we can document, and when I say all, Steve Murray, Stefan Swanpool, all the sort of real players of paying attention to these killer data points for us, they say there's 54,500 teams in the U.S.
Yep.
Of that, 45,000-ish have less than like 5 people, right? So it could be like, mom, it's you and Jen and one buyer's agent, right? Like that's a perfect example. And there's no right or wrong in this, just giving the data points. Then there's like 7,000-ish that have between 6 and 15 people. That includes admin, support, transaction management, maybe a videographer, a bunch of salespeople, the team lead, maybe their spouse, whatever. And then there's only like 1,600 that have 16 plus people, right? But we think there's like 22 that look something like you. And for the record, he's not a broker owner. You don't own you own your business,
correct?
But you don't own the brokerage.
Yeah, we call it like teamerage.
Teamerage, right? Like, we've been hearing that phrase a bunch.
Yeah.
I mean, so you live in such a rarefied space of real estate, right? So I want people to get that. I want to dummy it way down for a second.
Okay.
Because your skill set really is problem solving. Okay. Like that, like I said it in the very beginning, it's one of your superpowers. Let's play a game for the person that's listening right now who is like, okay, I'm dreaming of one day maybe doing 300 transactions. And right now I'm doing 30, right? It's one of the questions I get all the time on Q&A on Instagram. So I'm going to ask you some of the questions that I get. Okay. And I want you, this is going to be hot seat, right? Okay. And you could like, I can go, that's bananas, let's go. By the way, this is my new joke. That's Tom Ferry. This is Yoda. You see it?
I see it.
Totally Yoda. All right. So they asked me this, ready? So how do I generate more listings?
Seller lead funnel is really, really hard to do. We can go the traditional routes like expireds, FSBOs, right? But really we found the best way to capture sellers is they start out as buyers, right? And having
64%, some crazy number like that.
What's your buyer funnel look like first and foremost? And then are you doing a good job asking the right questions to make sure that you're converting those that also have a property to sell, or the repeat referral from your buyer pool, right? Yep. And so as you build that book of business, traditionally, the volume of listings goes up, right? They think of a trajectory of most real estate agents, right? You start out on the buy side,
right?
But if you're not doing your follow-up, if you're not staying in touch with your past clients,
right,
there go your listing opportunities. Right. So we believe that if I'm solving that problem, I'm going to start out, if I'm at 20 transactions, I've done predominantly buy side. I'm going to continue to ramp that up, but really focus on my repeat referral.
Right.
Markets like Phoenix, expireds, FSBOs are really saturated.
Right.
We don't spend a ton of time in that. But we see it as a key of having a great repeat referral client care campaign.
Right.
That's how I would solve that problem. So juice up your buy side leads.
Yes.
And the sellers will follow if you do the right things on the right steps.
So you and I answered the same exact way, which is like everybody says, like I was early on, let buyers basically help educate you to become a great listing agent. And like, it'll mature you over time. And if you help enough buyers in the beginning, you're going to get there anyway. I just want to
accelerate that, right? That's what I say. Like, take your book of business, accelerate your book of business with, Flex is a great tool for that. Zillow leads, realtor.com lead. Like, these are great tools to accelerate
Zillow,
building a book of business.
Google,
Facebook,
Google local services ads, Facebook ads. Like, it's endless, right?
Exactly, right? So many.
So what about, just on that same point, there's a lot of people in our camp that talk about if you really want to connect with that buying couple to have a more natural opportunity for the listing or even an immediate referral, do a buyer consultation. And yet the market is so frenzied. I'm seeing so many people just go like this, Okay, George 10. Okay, I'm going to take you out. There's one house. Let's go.
Yep.
And they never say, what are your non-negotiables? What are we really trying to accomplish? Has anybody taken the time to sit down with and show you guys? So what, I mean, you have 150 salespeople. Not all of them are, you got them in different price points. Some are on the listing side, some are on the buy side. What's your take on buyer consultation?
So the way we think about it, a buyer consult can happen anywhere. We used to push for it to be in the office, right? What does the consumer want? That's the question I always try to answer, right? What does the consumer want? They want to see a house. Let's not be a barrier to show the house. Let's not be a roadblock in showing them the house. Let's just show up, right? Let's show up.
Yes.
Let's show them the house and let's have the buyer consult there, build rapport face to face, and then convert, right?
Yeah.
But you can have a buyer consult at the first showing, right? We can learn more about you.
Right.
It's not about this house. We all know that. It's probably the next house or the next 10 houses you're going to show them.
Especially in a marketplace like yours where,
correct. Yeah.
On average, how many different houses would a buyer write an offer on average with your team before they get one?
Before this market or so?
Now, like this.
So, I mean, now it depending on the price point, right?
Sure,
of course. Area and price.
Yep.
But there's some that we're in, 15, 16 offers writing before they actually get a property, before they get a home.
Yeah.
It used to be 1-2 offers. You show them 7 houses. We write an offer on one of those.
Back in the old days when we had properties to sell.
Exactly. And now, you're showing them 40 houses, he's writing 15 offers. And the agent fatigue and the buyer fatigue is a real thing from that.
So that brings up a question I get all the time on Instagram. So how do I keep my buyers engaged after they write 2 or 3 off? They fall in love with the house, they don't get it. They fall in love with that one, they don't get it.
Yep.
They kind of like one, they don't get it. We'd settle for this, they don't get it.
Yeah.
How do you keep that person engaged?
I think, building really good relationships is key, right? Building that rapport, understanding their needs, understanding too, sometimes people just need a breath, right? We saw that this summer, there was a little bit of fatigue, right? We had a really low point, second quarter. And then summer people, they just took some time off.
Right.
But stay in contact, 2 weeks doesn't mean they're not your clients still, right? Take a pause. I mean, you can still try heavy sales, but we're not push. We just understand where they're at in their life. Take a break. Let's come back. Let's revisit this. And I'm still going to send you properties that I think might fit what you're looking for, right?
Yeah.
People want properties and we're going to continue to send them to them, whether it's our inside sales or our sales agents.
What are your thoughts on, first of all, I love that because it's
a better experience, man.
And it's relationships.
Yeah.
So my the one of the points I'm trying to make to a lot of people is, even if there's nothing for you to show them or send them, you should at least just check in.
Yeah.
George, Jen, just thinking about you guys, I'm scouring. There's nothing out there, but know that I'm looking. I got your back. If you need anything, let me know. Yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
I love that.
It gets hard to scale.
It does.
But
it does. You can make it easy, but it's not. It's not going to be easy to scale. Like if you're working with 20 buyers, and with today's market, a lot of our agents are 10, 15, 20 buyers. That's tough to do, right? It's tough to stay on top of. But good CRM, good database management, should be able to get it done.
I agree. Okay, let's go to the next one we get. Ready? So, all right, George, I'm getting a bunch of business going. Now I've got them under contract, and I stop all my marketing and lead generation, right? Rich, poor.
Yes.
How do I become more steady and consistent? How do I want to provide that amazing client experience, and this is a super important transaction for them.
This is when
I stop my marketing.
This is really where we have to, as an agent, you've got to be working on your business, right? Instead of in it all the time, right? And so how do we build that?
When do I do that?
Dependability of your cash, right?
Say that again.
So I want to have a very durable P&L, month over month. It's predictable in that sense, right? I can say, okay, I know I'm not going to have this up and down, right? My marketing is consistent. My follow-up's consistent. What happens a lot of times once we put a bunch under contract is we're really focused on, making sure
lose what I have,
exactly.
Right?
And having good people around you that you trust, a good transaction manager, a good assistant, good virtual assistants. There's, super cheap to be able to do that. Check in automations for.
You're already going into my next one.
But we call it the pizza tracker of the transaction. Right? People want to know what happens next, right? And if you can get in front of that, you can communicate it through video, through email, through text message, and you can tell them what's next, what's happening. Like, obviously there's always the 1 or 2 transactions you're dealing with that are just fire.
Of course.
But deal with that first thing in the morning, last part of the day, make sure you don't give up your time prospecting.
How do you help this person, the high I, right? Who is just like, boing, boing, boing all day long, just flowering around throughout the day. Yeah. Get them in front of customers, they kill.
Great producers.
Ask them to follow a checklist.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Like it's not going to happen. What do you say to that person?
We spend a lot of time working on checklists.
You're like, that's half my team.
Yes, right? I deliver the checklist to them and say, hey guys.
Because these people are amazing with clients.
They're great. They convert.
Right.
But building a durable business is not, and so that's with I coach, so of the 150 agents, I coach the top 10 producers on the team.
Yeah.
That is the conversation, guys. Build a business here, right?
Yeah.
If you're consistently in the transaction and addicted to the transaction, you're not going to, and sometimes, we don't want to go backwards on income, but sometimes you have to take a step back to move forward too, right? And so that's what I coach them on. I was like, what are we defining? How do you define winning, right?
How do you define success?
Like, hey, right? I closed 75 transactions on my own last year. I'm like, fuck, that's amazing.
Yes. And I'm getting a divorce.
Yes,
and my kids don't know my name.
Exactly.
That's and I say that jokingly, but like we hear that all the time.
And that's why, like, I'm just coaching them for more balance and business principles along that way. And you just repackage it and say it differently every other week, right? Like, hey guys, so let's work on this and let's break it down on what your quarter, we're going to move your business forward this month, this quarter. And here are the 3 things we're committing to move your business forward. We're not talking about transactions. We know you can slay it in conversion. I don't great. I love you. I care about it, but I don't care about that right now. Let's build a durable business here.
Right.
All right.
So one of the questions I get all the time is like, when is it right for me to scale? And most of them are asking, when is it time for me to hire my first assistant? Can we just like just talk conceptually for a second? Most companies have transaction coordinators, or they have outsourced transaction coordinators that are aligned with the company that you can use. Most companies have a marketing department. Most agents don't use them, right? There's VC.
Yeah.
I'm thinking venture capital right now because I was in a different conversation. VAs, thank you, VAs. And then maybe there's hiring your first assistant. What do you recommend for people that are like, I know I need to scale? Because what they're saying, they're screaming, I'm out of time.
Exactly. And that, what we would do in this instance, right? So somebody screaming, I'm out of time is, I need a needs assessment. Like, when you say you need help, like, where do you think you need help, right? Like, well, I want somebody to help me with showings that can do this client event for me and can make sure my calendar's in line. I'm like, well, you're probably talking about 3 different skill sets here. So, so let's narrow it down. Like, what are we looking for? Are we looking for an assistant?
Are these one-off or are these consistent?
Consistent.
Because the event's like a one-off.
Exactly. And like, you can hire you can outsource so many things now, right? Outsource event planning, outsourcing. I mean, we can figure out a way for, to pay somebody $50 for showings and to automate that, right? So that's where I start with them. Is like, okay, what do you think you really need? And then we break it down and say, okay.
So for the person listening, should they write down like, what are the things I know I do that I do inconsistently? Yes. If I did them consistently,
this would grow, right? And so that also comes down to your, like, what are we agreeing we need to do, right? I want to create more sellers. Well, we agree that moving forward through a great buyer funnel and creating a great repeat referral client care campaign is super important. If you're really bad at that, bring somebody in to help you with it, right? Like, that's going to be the key in building your business. And then we're going to decide that, hey, this is the #1 priority next quarter. So we're going to find you a virtual assistant that's going to be able to knock this out for you. Or I know what, Tiffany has a virtual assistant that she doesn't use full time. So why don't you guys share in that virtual assistant? They both work on your client care campaign. Us as a team too, we're going to help you with this by this XYZ, right? That's the way that I would look at it, is like, you still got to prioritize it and then execute on it, but really setting it down to like quarterly objectives to move your business forward.
How do I hire my first salesperson and how do I train them?
Oh, geez. Go to the bar, right? So
is there a type of bar I need to go to? I'm looking for specifics
Mexican,
here.
Mexican tequila,
margaritas definitely are
that's the gold.
Here in the great state of Texas.
Yes.
Very easy.
Yes.
On every other corner.
I think know who you're looking for.
Should you be hiring a mini version of you, the same person as you, someone different as you?
I like it depends on what you're trying to accomplish, but for me, I initially, and this worked out well, was attracting people that were like me.
Yeah.
And they've stayed committed. We're loyal to each other. But where the business really started growing is when I started hiring people not like me,
Bingo.
that thought differently than I did, looked at things differently than I did.
Yeah.
So it depends on where you're at, right?
So if I'm just hiring that
the
first salesperson,
I want to connect.
Because you know what they're going to do? They're going to go like this. Katie and I have been friends for a long time. Katie's pretty friendly.
Yeah.
And you know what? Her car is clean.
Yeah.
So she must be organized.
She's good.
Let's go.
Yeah.
She likes houses.
Yeah. She's good. She can show a house.
Right. Yeah. Is that the wrong strategy? Because sometimes it's just that they go to what is the most natural and easy.
Yes. I still think either way, right? So if you're going to go to your friends, if you're going to go for a different personality type, you just got to understand what it is you're trying to accomplish, right? So I don't think necessarily either way is wrong.
Yeah.
I think what is better is going after somebody that complements you well, right? So finding that person that's just a little bit more operational than you are, that can help fine tune other pieces of the business, making sure that you have your automation within your CRMs, like you can do all those other things that you don't necessarily do well. And that would be ideal. But the first salesperson, having somebody like-minded and same personality that you enjoy being around is pretty cool too.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, I think of when I started this company, my co-founder, right, is Steve Almonte, who also happens to be my brother-in-law and the best man at my wedding, right? And right? And it was like, we could just talk about the business 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But our skill sets were very different. He was uber tactical on sales and marketing. And I was like, let's go create the content. Let's go do events. Let's do coaching, right? So there was that connection, but very different skill sets. I think about the number of clients that have done, without naming names, hey, I work in Silicon Valley and I don't speak Mandarin. Maybe my first hire should be a Mandarin-speaking buyer's agent, right?
Yes, exactly. A different set of problems.
Right.
Let's find a solution to it.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. So there's definitely the strategy of what is missing in my business that this person could complement. Okay. So let's say once you get them in, what kind of interview questions should we be asking? That it's your mother. Yeah. Well, mom, or a friend or a pal, to figure this out.
What I'm trying to uncover a lot of times when I'm talking to somebody. So what we found, we've disc profiled pretty much everybody that's joined our company.
Why?
Data, we love data, but too, we know that certain values, I wouldn't say even personality profiles. I think any personality profile can win in a sales business. But what are your drivers? What are your values? There seems to be some patterns in who succeeds or
what's the
who's
one
committed.
Key value. I like winning.
I like winning, right? I have a strong desire to win. And so on a disc profile, that's the economic indicator, right? And so I want people that are money motivated in most positions, right? Maybe not my data analyst, but for most of the positions in my company, I want you to be motivated by winning.
Yeah.
Right?
We're a sales organization.
Exactly.
It matters to us.
Right?
Yes.
And so that's what I'm trying to uncover that.
So DISC, you want to understand personality. You want to understand what's their motivation, what's their value driver.
Yeah. I'm trying to
what
listen.
Else do you want to know?
I'm trying to listen for keywords of victim mentality. Abundance. Go
there.
When I ask them, why are they thinking of making a change? And if all they do is bag on their last team, I'm like, okay, it's not.
I'm just going to be the next person you're going to bag on.
I don't want to be that guy, right?
Yeah.
If they don't come up with solutions, right?
Everyone listening right now knows that person that they have just been the victim and everyone else is an idiot or wrong or have wronged them. And you're like, don't hire that person.
Completely been wronged.
Right.
But there's a right way to say it too, right?
Exactly.
There's a right way to come across. And if all I get is scarcity mindset and victim mentality, or even small traces of that, we're exiting, right?
Yeah.
And then also from the disc profile, the other thing we stay away from is high individualistic. So those I know some really great people, but the ones that that have left the team and taking people with them too, or we just never quite aligned. was high economic, high individualistic, right?
Because they wanted to do their own thing.
Yeah.
They were riding your ship until they got their own.
Super collaborative. Yeah, exactly. And so we tend to stay away from that. But I don't put all the weight in the disc profile or anything. But yeah, that's why I'm looking for mindset of abundance, right? I'm looking for somebody who has a strong desire to win and is collaborative. Like,
I'm going to say something I would love your opinion. To every one of my luxury agents listening, the one thing I hear more than anything else that almost never works. I have this guy. I have this gal. She doesn't need to work. She's married to Hoobie-Doo. They know everyone. And if they're on my team, I'm suddenly going to get all this business. You never works.
Yes. Well, ever. You deviated from your values, right? Like you've gone away from what it is that you said, these are the type of people that we want to hire and these are the type of people that build our culture, right? And you've got to stay committed to that, right? You get the wrong people in, it can cause some chaos for sure.
Yeah. Right? How about training? Do you use any software specifically?
Kajabi. So all of our stuff is online, hosted on Kajabi. We do live trainings too. So the way that we set up the team now is we want a very consistent training experience. So any new agent, there's a different for experienced and new. So it's a little bit longer with a new agent, but they all enter into what we call our hub team, which goes through the basics of being part of our team, right? So getting you signed up for the orientation pieces, but also teaching you how we view leads and how we convert and what are the benefits of the team, what are different marketing pieces, like what are the things you can tap into. And so they all have to be housed in this hub team for the first 90 days. And then they're released to their regional team leaders, or we also have teams within the team. They'll go to those team leaders as well. But we want to just make sure like that foundation is very consistent, right? And so the trainings, the way they write their contracts, they understand all of our back end stuff.
So that's brilliant. And that's certainly what you do at 150. I'm trying to hire my first person and train them. What do should I document what I do that works? Should I write down the scripts that I like? Should I pull some videos from YouTube that I found to be effective? What do you think? You went super high level, which I was like, I'm going to let him go because this is super valuable. And I was like, but I'm hiring my first person.
Your first person.
He's like, it's a team inside the team and the regional, and everybody's like, holy crow. He's got this going on.
I'm operational. So where I would start with a brand new is if I'm hiring my first one, you learn a lot by shadowing, right? Like shadowing, let's go. Like, and then they do, right? And then they teach, right? That's kind of that's a lot of our model within like inside sales world, right? Like, hey, come shadow, watch me, I'll help you. Like, write this contract, do this, right? That's where I'm going to start. I'm going to make sure I'm going to sit down and spend some time with them, going through, if they're not an experienced agent, I want to make sure they understand the contract really well. I want to make sure they understand the MLS really well. But most importantly, where the money is made is in the CRM, in the prospecting. So I'm like, none of this matters.
Isn't it funny, like all this, and it all comes back down to CRM and make phone calls.
Yes, none of it matters. So scripting, text messaging campaigns, understanding how we follow up with leads and the best way to convert, right? That's teach you how to sell is what I'm going to do.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, you ready for some random questions?
Okay.
Bring it on. Okay.
All right, fair.
I made a prediction at the summit last year. I said 50% of all transactions in the next 3 years will have a referral fee associated to it.
I would agree.
How does one counteract that, or secure more, or play both? Like, how do you what's your position on it? I guess.
It's there. Play ball, right? For sure. Some really great relationships. Some really great database building here, right? It can accelerate you building that book of business.
How many people do you have in your database?
250,000. Yeah.
250,000 buyers and sellers in Arizona, right?
Correct.
Phoenix. But they could be Calgary, Alberta, Canada, whatever.
going
to become a snowbird.
Yep.
That's a bonkers number. One could argue you never would have to market again if you just
did it right.
Just nurture your own database, right? Okay, so half of all transactions could have a referral fee associated to it. I believe that there are some egregious referral fees, and then there are agent referrals all day long. Yep. And look, egregious is, just a word to describe when you're like, I'm not making a margin anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
It's low margin,
right,
for sure.
So what do you recommend to someone as they're looking at how do I pick the right partners? What are the questions I should be asking? And then on the flip side, how do I generate more non-referral business?
Yeah. So it's a big focus.
Non-referral fee business.
Yeah. So it's a big focus for us. Like now the reporting, so starting this next year, right, changes. It's not just team leads, right, and agent generated. Now it's like team leads with referral fees, team leads without referral fees. And now I'm in, we have to have some lead diversification to bring back that margin that we need. Lead diversification looks like, okay, we got to turn up AdWords, right? Or we've got to social media, but you can't turn over a lead to an agent that converts at 2%.
No.
Right. It's not going to get followed up with. It's sludge, and I hate the term lead and all that, but
I know,
for the consumer experience,
they're all clients.
They're all clients, right?
It's just when are you going to transact?
Was it Schwartz said nobody ever woke up and dreamed of being a lead?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So I'm
a real estate lead.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So we try to stay away from that, but in turning those things on, right, that don't have referral fees attached is going to be an important piece of having a dependable, durable business. You still can build a great P&L and a great business with the ones with referral fees, but you got to have the other ones mixed in too. So making sure you're set up with, if you're bringing in leads that convert at 2%, you better have some really good AI on the top end, and you better have a really good inside sales team.
Right, to be able to nurture, or at least at the minimum, a great email texting strategy, which the AI, right? But it's like that automated email texting, if this, then that, if this, then that. Are you ready? Let's go.
It's in our goal, one of our missions as a team and promises to our agents is just better down funnel leads to them, right? By the time it hits your funnel, I want it to convert at 10, 15%, 8, 12%, probably the target today.
So best advice is you're saying is kind of, hey, first of all, there's going to be some of these that are great and they can help you build a tremendous amount of lead flow. What should they be looking for if they're going to create those relationships versus the potentially 2% lower conversion? And not all of it, because it could be just nurture your database. Start a geographic farm, do open houses again. Those still work.
Those all work,
yes. All those things.
Geofarming, open houses, yes, also great.
Right. And also agent referrals. Like so much of our community is just like literally the people that I talk to, they're like, Tom, I haven't paid for coaching in like 7 years. I'm like, wait, no, I have your credit card on file. I know you have. They're like, no, that's not what I mean. They're like, I get so many, or I send so many referrals that, you know what I mean? Coaching is free. And I'm like, got it. So there's that. If I wanted to go after some of these channel partners, what are the questions I should be asking myself, or what should I be asking them if I want to win that business or do that business the right way?
Yeah, I think what the channel partners are looking for right now is somebody that can scale, right? So you got to be able to, once again, it's speak that language, right? So know where you're at today, know where you're going, know what lead flow you can handle.
But let's break it down. You have to know, like, what is your current conversion?
Current conversion,
right? Do you have a buyer process, right?
You got to have the process.
How fast do you, like when you get a lead, how fast do you respond? And what is your conversion from lead to appointment and your appointment to actual contract? Like it's all that
stuff. You better know your numbers and be able to present them.
Right.
Because that's what I did. Like, it's a deck that you have ready. You have a tech stack, right? Like you got to be able to know that pitch, right? When you go to them, because they want to work with the people that convert well, right? And have a really good business, scalable business. Right?
Yeah. I mean, the days are still there where you can go to realtor.com or Zillow and you can buy leads, right? And they'll sell leads because they're like, okay, well, we got a hole there. We have opportunities to sell. But when you're talking about the bigger opportunities, whether it's, it could be a mortgage company, it could be a portal, it could be any one of these. The only thing they care about is conversion.
Correct.
So what are the numbers they should track?
So conversion, so top of funnel, right? Obviously you need to know how many leads come in, how many appointments set, how many agreements did you sign from those, right? So whether it's buy side, we look at that as like offers written, right? Because we don't push for buyer broker agreements. Listing agreements obviously is the other side of it. And then conversion to under contract and close. Those are the biggest ones that you need to be tracking in your business.
Regardless, by the way, if you ever want any of these partners, you should know those.
Any. And so those are the key factors that we're...
And should you know them by source?
Oh, you have to know them by source.
Why?
Because you're not going to know your ROI unless you know them by source, right? You're not going to know which ones to turn up, which ones to turn down, which one, and where you need to spend your time and energy, right? Yep. So if you're not tracking by cohort, if you're not tracking by source, like you are, you're behind, right?
Yeah.
So.
All right. So that was my first random question. Here's my second random question. AI, Asia, automation. Right. Yes. The 3 A's that seem to be the thing that could democratize real estate in the future. Right. Asia meaning outsourcing, in case you're wondering. I don't think like China's coming to get us. Right. Just be clear.
Thanks for the clarity.
Right.
Yes.
Just automation, Asia, all things, automation, right. VAs, yada, yada. So what do you think is the future of real estate the next 5 to 7 years? What do you think happens?
I get that question a lot.
I know.
Where the industry, the human element of the industry is always going to exist, in my opinion. And I'm not just saying that because I run a team and I'm in this business of humans, right?
Yes.
I like in this a real estate transaction, in moving, it's an intimate and human relationship that's going to allow to get across the finish line, right? There are things that you can do within your business. There's things that are going to get automated. Don't get me like things are going to change no matter what. Yeah. What you have to continue to do is make sure so the reason agents have the authority right now is because we create a good experience and we're walking them through it. We have to continue to differentiate our product, right? We have to continue to build on our product. It's not just great experience. I show up, I know what I'm doing, I'm a professional. We have to be able to offer cash offers, right? Like you have to be able to have these things in your arsenal to be able to continue to capture. And when I say like product differentiation, you got to have a buy sell option.
Really, you're talking solutions. Like I can provide these different solutions for you, right?
Right. Yeah. Like I have a buy sell option in my quiver, right? Yeah. I have incentives where if you work with my lender, right? I have incentives if there's a title attachment. We can incentivize. We can offer
legally,
solutions.
RESPA friendly, all legal. Right. Yep. Someone's got to say what?
Yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah.
Come on. No, but we know. We know. Disclaimer.
Yeah. Right. That we can set that we have those tools in our quiver to be able to
quick close, lease back, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's everything that an agent needs today. Yeah. But the point is, like as you mentioned, it's arrows in the quiver. Like a lot of people know about it, but I don't think they're showing up fully present to that could be the solution I need for this client.
We don't know how to pitch it yet.
Right.
And you may not have the solution for it yet, but you're going to need it at some point, right? And so that's the key. We're in this retrain of the industry, right? Of retraining what our pitch is,
right?
And
what our value
really
is.
Yes, exactly. And so I think of it like, when MLS went online or short sales or, like all these things that we had to adapt and figure out again, this is where it's at. Yeah. It is a fundamental retrain of the industry, right? Yep. And that's what we're trying to get to our agents to understand what the value prop is and why it's different today.
Yeah. That's big. Yeah. That's big. I could ask you 7,000 more questions, but I know you have to get on an airplane.
I can sit here all day.
I know, man. Dude, I appreciate you so much. Man. I just love the way you think, right? We get to work together, so I get to get into his head a lot and do my best to contribute and connect and keep moving forward. But dude, you are one impressive beast.
Well, I appreciate it, man. It's all the great coaching over the years. So thank you.
You're kind. I'm going to pay him $1,000 for that. All right. Okay. Hey, George, if they want to follow you, Instagram or connect with you, what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
Instagram, George Laughton. You can tag, so LaughtonTeam.com, also a good place to go. Yeah. Just hit me up online, guys.
Love it, man. All right, man. I appreciate you, and I appreciate you. Thank you so much for watching, listening. Leave a comment. Absolutely leave a like, whatever you want to do. We love you. Thanks for checking out the podcast. We'll see you guys next week. Between now and 2025, all the great economists are saying the housing industry is going to continue to boom. So the question is, what are you building? This is the essence of my Blueprint event, where I ask you to take a few days away from your business and dream about the type of business you ultimately want to build. So to make your reservation, go to tomferry.com/blueprint. I look forward to seeing you at the event.